Hello everyone and welcome back to Ian's Innovations. With only days left until Little Nightmares 2 releases, a lot of fans are probably revisiting the first game to refresh their minds on the Little Nightmares franchise. However, today in this video, we won't be revisiting the original Little Nightmares from 2017. Instead, we will be revisiting the lesser known entry of the series titled Very Little Nightmares. Very Little Nightmares is a puzzle platformer game and prequel to the first Little Nightmares. Or if you want to be more specific with its placement in the series timeline as of this video, it's implied to take place before the original comic book series from 2017, which those are implied to take place before the first game. Unlike the first and upcoming second Little Nightmares, which was made for modern gen consoles and PC, Very Little Nightmares was made exclusively for mobile devices. The game was developed by Alike Studios rather than Tarsier Studios and published once again by Bandai Namco. It was first released on iOS devices on May 30th, 2019 and was later released on Android devices on December 10th of that same year. Before I get into reviewing Very Little Nightmares itself, I'll tell you about my history with the game. I remember after Secrets of the Maw had its last DLC released in February 2018, I wasn't too sure what direction the Little Nightmares franchise would head in. I mean, I expected a sequel to be made eventually, and that ended up becoming true when it was announced in the following year. But other than that, things like the original comic book series and the TV show were left in limbo. So when Very Little Nightmares was announced in April 2019, I thought, a mobile Little Nightmares prequel. It's not what I expected, but sounds interesting. So I was planning to purchase the game on my Android phone when it came out in May. However, I found out that it was only released on iOS at the time, which was very unfair for me and the rest of Android users. So I unfortunately wasn't able to play it for myself immediately. Thankfully, I got my hands on Very Little Nightmares when it later released for Android in December of 2019. Took long enough, but better late than never. I played through the game during my ski trip in West Virginia with my friend Daniel at the end of the year. Now, I've wanted to talk more about Very Little Nightmares on my channel for a long time, but due to its Android release being months after originally releasing on iOS, and how I was more focused on making other videos like my Runaway Kid analysis series, I didn't get around to doing it until now. And so, with my history with the game done, I'll now begin giving you my thoughts on Very Little Nightmares. Do keep in mind that for this video I'll just be reviewing the game, along with giving my opinion on it, and I won't be speculating or analyzing every detail here, since I'm planning to do that in a future video after Little Nightmares 2 comes out. Alright, so what is the plot of Very Little Nightmares? Well, you play as a child simply referred to as the girl in the yellow raincoat. At the beginning, it shows that she was piloting a hot air balloon that crashed into the roof of the nest, which is the name of a mansion situated on a cliff island in the middle of the ocean and is the main setting of the game. So now the girl has no choice but to find a way to escape the nest while also getting past its various grotesque residents and other obstacles. Well, at this point, I guess we should come to expect that a lot of entries in the Little Nightmares series will focus on a kid escaping some dreaded place, which I'm completely okay with since that means the story can be easy to follow. Alright, right now I'll get into spoiler territory, but I just want to make this aspect of the story clear and out of the way. Okay, here we go. You may have noticed that so far I've not been referring to a playable protagonist of Very Little Nightmares as 6. Well, that's because it's not 6 and is instead a brand new character officially referred to as the girl in the yellow raincoat. In fact, her similar appearance was deliberately used by the game's creators and marketing to trick the player into believing that her and 6 are the same character, when really they're not. It will make a little bit more sense once you know the game's ending, but that's mostly as far as I'll get when it comes to major spoilers. Now I'll go over the aspect of Very Little Nightmares that probably everyone noticed when it was first announced, the visuals. Bandai Namco and Alike Studios likely knew that trying to develop a mobile Little Nightmares game on par to the original would have been too difficult. Maybe because of this, they went with making the game in a more cartoonish 2D art style. Personally, I like this approach with this 2D art style, and it gives the game more of its own identity. And with the visuals, what are the environments in Very Little Nightmares like? Well, the nest features aesthetics, furniture, and other objects that are reminiscent to those from the 1940s and 50s. The nest also has interesting specific locations, like rooms filled with the clothes of children hung up and used to make new clothes for dolls, or a massive dump where many objects like parts of airplanes have been thrown away, or hell, even a garden outside the mansion that you run through near the end of the game. Though if I had to give the environments in the game some criticism, it would be that the nest reuses a lot of aspects that were previously seen in the mob from the first game, such as the iconic eyeball symbol scattered everywhere throughout the mansion, and one part with the mechanical eyes that turn you to stone. I mean, there is a popular theory that I believe in, which is that the nest has ties to the maw and will explain all the eyeball symbols. But if this isn't true, then this will just come across as lazy level design. Of course, it isn't a Little Nightmares game without ugly and disturbing characters, and this game introduces a couple new ones, who, like in the first game, don't have any spoken dialogue. The first antagonist the girl encounters is the craftsman. He has long arms, though not as long as the janitor from the first game, and is bound to a wheelchair. The craftsman is also the one who takes the clothes of children trapped in the nest and uses the cloth to create the clothes for dolls. Later, you encounter the butler. Just because his arms are shackled doesn't mean you shouldn't worry about him being a threat. That's because he has the power of telekinesis, which he uses to try to stop you. And when I first played through this game, I remember he was a bit difficult, but in a fun way. With his telekinetic powers, the butler is tasked with doing various chores around the mansion. In the nest's waste dump, the girl must traverse through trash while also avoiding the dump monster. It's pretty much just a shoe monster from the first game again. Not much to say about the dump monster, and I'm only mentioning it because it's an enemy that you face in the game. Eventually, you encounter the main antagonist of the game, the Pretender. She's a spoiled child who is depicted with playing for dolls a lot. And it's debatable if she's the one who oversees the nest, since there's a portrait of her and presumably her parents, but I don't want to begin speculating too much in this video. The Pretender also has disturbing abilities like being able to disintegrate the girl in the yellow raincoat if she catches her, and the ability to crawl down steep cliffs face first. Very Little Nightmares also brings back two old characters from previous installments of the series. Firstly, numerous gnomes can be seen running around most rooms throughout the nest. Their existence here further supports the theory that not all gnomes are created by the lady, and I further go into that topic in my video of Little Nightmares Who is the Runaway Kid Part 3. The gnomes here aren't used as a collectible like in the first game. However, there are a few instances where they help the girl figure out a puzzle, similar to how they helped the runaway kid with puzzles in the Hideaway chapter of Secrets of the Maw. Secondly, there's another emo child who is trapped within the nest and is seen a few times throughout the game. And I'm gonna give another spoiler warning here. By the end of the game, this child is most definitely implied to in fact be 6. Now, other characters that appeared in previous installments also appear in this game in a different way, but I'll talk about that soon enough. Alright, since I covered the game's characters, I think now would be good to go over the gameplay of Very Little Nightmares. And it's quite easy to understand. Unlike the first game, which was a 3D puzzle platformer, this game is played on a grid, where you must tap on tiles or objects in order to move the girl, and double tap to make her run. You can interact with certain objects, and set objects will be highlighted white if you can use them. Unlike 6 or the runaway kid, the girl in the yellow raincoat doesn't have her own personal light source, though granted, most areas are bright enough for you to see just fine, with the exception of one dark area where the girl can pick up and light matches to see better and light up lanterns. There are of course several puzzles throughout the game that you must solve, and for the most part, they were decently challenging and creative. Okay, remember how earlier I said that other characters from previous installments of the series appear in this game in some way? Well, Very Little Nightmares has collectible items hidden in each level like the first game. These collectibles resemble Jack-in-the-Box toys and are actually portrayed as some of the characters who previously appeared in the Little Nightmares series, such as the janitor, the guests, and the lady from the first game, the granny and the Shadow Kids from Secrets of the Maw, and even the ferryman, the mirror monster, and the refugee kid from the original comic book series. Honestly, making the collectibles reference old characters was a nice touch, and it seems to show that the original comics are still canon to the overall story of the series. And the last aspect of Very Little Nightmares that I'll talk about is the music. The soundtrack is actually not bad in my opinion. However, I don't think it's as memorable as the soundtrack of first Little Nightmares and its DLCs. Though that could be because I haven't played the game enough times for the music to be more embedded in my mind like previous entries. Well, that's everything I have to say about Very Little Nightmares. I enjoyed seeing another story that takes place before the first game, and I liked how the world of Little Nightmares got expanded by having this game be set within the nest. And with that, for my final verdict on Very Little Nightmares, I am giving it an 8 out of 10. It's not as great as the first Little Nightmares, but I still had a good time playing this prequel game for mobile. I'd recommend giving this game a try, and I feel it deserves some attention from Little Nightmares fans. You can purchase Very Little Nightmares for $7 on whatever modern iOS or Android device you are using, and maybe you too can use that opportunity to get more hyped for Little Nightmares too. Anyway, thank you for watching my review of Very Little Nightmares. But before I end things off, I'd like to mention two particular things. First off, I had reached over 100 subscribers during the making of this video. It's still not an amazing amount, but hey, it's a notable milestone for anyone on YouTube. And next, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend VScore. You can check out and subscribe to his channel, which I have linked in the description of this video, where he does let's plays and live streams of Pokemon and other games. Anyway, be sure to also like this video and subscribe to my channel, and let's hope that Little Nightmares 2 will be a great game. Goodbye!